Hello and welcome to this week's Profit Maximizing Moment. This show is dedicated to helping business owners dramatically improve their bottom line with our weekly profit maximizing tips that you can use now. I'm your host and coach, Wayne Belisle. I'm also the founder of a local CPA firm that works with business owners to help them make more money and keep it from the IRS, all legally. We do this with our profit coaching programs, these videos, and with our tax planning system, which has saved my clients over $7 million over the last 5 years, all legally, like I say every week. Love my clients, but really don't want to share a jail cell with them. This week we're going to finish probably one of the more important videos. The more important series of videos we've done, which is the part of the improving the profit formula, which is increasing sales. So remember, before we get to that, let's talk about this week's show is brought to you from Profit Maximizing Publisher, Profit Maximizer Publishing. I can get that right, which published my book, The 90-Day Profit Reset, which shows you how to gain your independence from reduced cash flow, shrinking margins, and an evaporating customer base. In this book, you will find chapter after chapter and idea after idea about how you can turn around your business, reset your profits from red to black in 90 days or fewer. Even entrepreneurs who are making money will benefit from my book by learning how to make more money. All right, what I was going to say before I got sidetracked was we've like starting on January 5th. So today's February 2nd. So starting on January 6th, we started with the profit formula part. So first we talked about, and this is kind of the key, profit is not an accident. There's a formula there. And part one of the formula is increasing sales. I'm a strong believer in increasing sales as much as possible without spending money, if at all possible. All right. And nowadays, believe it or not, I've seen business after business, and I've been one that has increased sales dramatically by following these steps. So first, what we did on January 5th, we talked about how to get a 10% increase in qualified leads, getting people to call you. All right. On January 12th, I was like, wow, I missed a week. On January 12th, we talked about how to get those leads into paying customers, how to convert 10% more of your leads into paying customers. On January 19th, we talked about how to increase the annual sales per customer by 10%. So what steps can you do to increase sales for each customer? Last week, on January 26th, we talked about how to increase referrals from current customers. So again, doing a 10% increase in all of those makes a huge difference. Now we're going to talk about something else. It's a 10% increase in customer retention. All right, doesn't do me any good to do those other four steps if I'm bringing customers in one door and they're leaving the other door. I'm bringing in 10 and 9 are leaving because various reasons. So, and very few business owners actually have a plan to make sure that they retain the customers, that they stay in contact with them. So what's the first step I need to do? The very first step I need to do is to track how many customers I'm losing. I need to have a benchmark. All right. Like right now, let's say I'm losing 5% of my clients every year. Is that good, bad, or indifferent? Who knows? How does that compare to prior years? How does it compare to other CPAs? What's the reason? Okay. So first I need to have a benchmark. Then I need to figure out how to reduce that. So one of the things I recommend, obviously, very first thing is you need to be able to wow your customers. They not just good work, you need to wow them. All right. So, and you need to tell them you did. It doesn't do you any good to do a really good job. I've made this mistake a long time where I'm helping them. I remember a client where I was doing some work behind the scenes and saving them, quite a bit of money on tax planning, but I didn't tell them. And stupidly, I didn't charge them either for that extra work. Don't do that mistake anymore. So don't do that. All right. Because that's something that made a lot of difference. He ended up leaving me, went to another CPA, and ended up with an $80,000 tax bill. Look, he had never owed more than 20 before. That's because the other CPA didn't do any tax planning. Came back to me. We talked about it. I accepted him back as a client, learned a lesson. How are they going to know that I'm doing above average work if I don't tell them? All right. You also need to stay in communication with them as much as possible. So look at all your customer service areas and make sure you're taking care of it. All right. You might want to put in place something like a hot ticket. This is something that I've done with other places where a hot ticket is every time there's a customer complaint, You write what the customer complaint is, who was assigned to, how it was done, and then sometimes if it's not the owner that's doing it, the owner will pick some of them, especially with larger customers, and call them and make sure it was taken care of. A lot of times that's all your customers want, is to know you're listening and that you care. And that's part of it, because people understand you're going to make mistakes. Okay. Own up to it, fix it, try to make sure you fix your problem so it doesn't happen again. Another thing is make sure your customers remember you. Newsletters are a great tool for this, or something like this video where I'm sending it out every week, an email. Don't be a pest. I mean, people don't want these videos. They just sign out of them. I don't force them to watch it. A lot of them don't watch it, but they get an email from me saying it's there and they watch the one they want to watch. Okay. Even a print newsletter now in some places will work. Other times in some cities that doesn't work. I was talking to somebody in El Paso, mail works real well for them. In other cities like San Antonio, Dallas, it doesn't work at all, but online works better. Okay. Don't assume your customer is going to remember you. That's not their job. In this, I tell a story of, I had a friend of mine, I had a problem on a Thanksgiving with plumbing. I had a leak. And getting a plumber to come out is almost impossible. All right. So I called a friend of mine. He referred a plumber, and I went, he came out, fixed it. It wasn't outrageous. I mean, would have paid almost anything to get the flood to stop. So he wasn't crazy. A couple of years later, there was a unusual frost that hit El Paso, Texas. Everybody remembers that, where pipes were bursting and everything. And I had a client call me, and a friend of mine also called me and said, "Hey, you got a plumber that you think is pretty good?" For the life of me, I could not find this guy. I must have paid him cash because I didn't have the checkbook with me at home. I didn't use a credit card, so probably paid him cash. Couldn't remember his name. Remember, it's not your customer's job to remember you. It's your job to remind your customers that you exist, that you did a good job for them, and that you're there if they need you again. All right. So stay in constant contact. I already talked about create a system to eliminate repeat errors. That's important. Perform a customer audit periodically to pinpoint weaknesses in your system. Don't be afraid to do a survey to see how your customers are doing. Create a customer callback system to check on the quality of the product or service the customer received. While on the phone, ask for referrals and explore selling additional products or services. All right. That's another thing we've done before, which is very important. Create a customer callback system can be a great way to get sales. Had a photographer, this was back when, can't call him photographer, he would still get mad at me. He created portraits, and he really did. He did a really good job, work of arts. And, for a while, he's retired now. So for a while, what they would do is they would call, people would come in and pick up the portraits. And, no, it's pretty expensive. I just want the minimum prints. I'll take this package. And no, I don't want them framed, So he would call back and he would ask, hey, he'd call back in 3 months, I think 6 months and a year, and then 2 years. All right. So what he did on the first call was like, hey, how'd you like the pictures? And I think he did that one after 3 months, if I remember right. I can't remember exactly when, but it wasn't 6 months. I'm pretty sure it was 3 months. How'd you like the pictures? Have you gotten them framed? We got a deal on frames. Okay. Do you need more copies? Because that's what would happen. You'd go home and you'd start passing them out, and you run out of pictures. You didn't run out of copies. Hey, I got copies here, and he created a sale. First, he checked on the quality. Then he did an upsell. We talked about that. Then he asked for referrals. Go back to last week. Remember what I talked about referrals? Because he would ask. He didn't say, hey, you know anybody else who needs portraits? No, he asked, do you know anybody else who's getting married, just got engaged, has a 25th or 50th anniversary or some other anniversary, just had a baby, is graduating from school? Because I won't remember, I can't think of anybody who needs a portrait, but, oh, yeah, my buddies, they get married, or, hey, friend of my sister just had a baby. Yeah, sure. And he said, well, I got a coupon for him. Have him come in, the sitting fee will be half what it was. So again, he's upselling. He would then call back like a year, he did another secondary call to see, hey, I'm having a frame sale. Do you want some framed? And people would have it still in a bag underneath their bed. So they're like, sure, so he would take some of the frames that he could get that were out of stock or he was going to get rid of, and he'd work on it. And then finally he'd make a call and go, look, I was going through my pictures, and there's some here that, from when you took pictures, when you had that portrait done of your daughter, getting married, 2 years ago, and we're getting ready to get rid of them. But I thought, hell, if you're interested, I can give them to you for, 50% off or something like that. You'd be amazed. People are like, they're sentimental. There's a reason they got that portrait. So they would buy them, and they're on sale. I don't want you to throw them away or shred them. Sure, I'll take them for that deal. I mean, what did it cost him? Plus, he would then go through, do you know anybody, anything happening with you? Customer relations. It's your job to remember the customer. All right. And again, you're upselling. So customer callback. Now, I've had this complaint, I got too many customers. All right. Take your biggest customers and a sampling of the others. That's all. All right. So that pretty much ends that. I got some homework for you. Kind of sit down and look at your customers and figure out what a 10% increase in each one of these categories and how that would affect your sales. All right. And for each part of the formula, go back to I literally told you, go back to January 5th and every week since then, and look at and write down 3 to 5 ideas that you can use now to improve that part of the profit formula for your business. Trust me, you're going to have a dramatic increase in sales. I've seen it. I've seen people have over 100% increase in sales without spending a single dollar on marketing by going through these different steps and slowly attacking it. Profits are not an accident. Profits are a result of planning. All right. Hey, this is Wayne Bilal saying until next time, let's make this our most profitable year ever. Thank you very much and have a great week.